Have you ever met someone who is incredibly book smart, but just hopelessly, totally out of touch with reality?
Oh, yeah. The absolute classic, brilliant but clueless archetype.
Right. You're picturing a very specific person right now, aren't you? It's that individual who, I don't know, maybe has 2 or 3 advanced degrees.
Right, they can rattle off the most obscure historical timelines on command.
Exactly. Or they can do complex calculus in their head.
Yeah.
But then they step into a crowded room or like a team meeting and they just cannot read the room to save their life.
They say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
They talk down to everyone and they create this massive, awkward friction everywhere they go.
It's like they possess a staggering amount of raw data, but they lack the fundamental situational awareness required for, well, actual human interaction.
Yeah.
They know the facts, but they don't know the people.
And it feels like such a uniquely modern problem,
Yeah.
especially today, when you can literally just sit in a dark room alone, stare at a screen, and accumulate an infinite amount of facts from the internet.
Without ever having to speak to another human being.
Exactly. But it turns out this is not a modern phenomenon at all. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the insights of a philosopher named Thiruvalluvar.
Who actually diagnosed this exact tech bro or ivory tower syndrome centuries ago.
Right, in an ancient Tamil text called the Kural. And our mission today is to look at 2 specific verses, or Kurals, as these short 2-line couplets are called, to decode his philosophy on what it actually means to be wise.
It's going to be a really fascinating journey.
We're going to see how he tries to shift our perspective from simply hoarding information to mastering social harmony.
And it's a fundamental shift that challenges a lot of our modern assumptions. Because while the Thiruvalluvar is an ancient text, its dissection of human behavior is incredibly relevant right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about the era we live in. We are entirely obsessed with measurable metrics. We validate intelligence through test scores, degrees, IQ points.
And just general data accumulation.
Right. But Valluvar steps in to remind us that all the data in the universe is completely functionally useless if you don't understand the human context that data has to exist within.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's look at how he actually sets up this argument, starting with the negative side of things. The pitfall.
Yeah, the warning label.
The text points us first to Kural 140, which is housed in a chapter called Ozhukkamudaimai, meaning decorum. And the English translation of this specific couplet hits remarkably hard.
It really does.
It says, "Even those who have learned many things are ignorant if they do not know how to live in harmony with the world."
What's fascinating here is the specific target of that critique. I mean, notice he isn't talking to the uneducated.
Right.
He is pointing directly at the learner, the academic, the scholar who thinks they are above everyone else.
He's taking aim at the top.
Exactly. He's establishing a baseline rule. You can memorize 1,000 books, you can hang all the accolades on your wall, but if you fail to conduct yourself in harmony with the society around you, your education essentially amounts to 0.
Okay, I have to stop you there because I have a really hard time with the word ignorant in this context.
Really? How so?
I mean, mathematically 0. That
Yeah.
seems like a massive, almost poetic exaggeration.
Yeah.
Like if I spend 10 years isolated in a lab studying astrophysics, right?
Okay.
And I discover a completely new planet. But I happen to be incredibly arrogant and completely awkward at dinner parties. You can definitely call me a jerk. But you can't say my education equals 0.
Because the planet is still there.
Yeah, the planet is still there. I still have the data.
It's a very visceral reaction to have, and it makes sense, especially because our society separates the work from the person so often. But we have to look at the functional reality of what Valluvar is arguing.
Okay, lay it on me.
He isn't evaluating your trivia score or your raw cognitive processing speed. He is evaluating your functional utility in a human ecosystem. Let's ground this in a modern scenario. Imagine a brilliant software engineer. This engineer writes the most elegant, groundbreaking code in the world. It's revolutionary. But this person is so incredibly arrogant, so incapable of communicating, and so dismissive of their team that all the other developers refuse to work with them.
Oh, man, I think we've all worked with that person.
Right. The project managers can't stand them. The work environment becomes so toxic that the entire project falls apart and the software never ships.
Ah, I see where you're going.
So from Valluvar's perspective, what is the value of that elegant code?
It's nothing. Nobody ever uses it.
Exactly. The raw intelligence is there, sure, but because it is completely decoupled from social harmony, its real-world output is literally 0. In fact, it might be negative because it just caused a bunch of stress and destroyed a team.
That reframes it completely.
Valluvar is saying that high education mixed with social arrogance simply equals ignorance because you lack the most fundamental knowledge of all, how to actually deploy your intelligence in a world populated by other people.
You know, the analogy that kept popping into my head as I was reading through these concepts is that the disconnected scholar is basically a high-powered supercomputer.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, imagine this massive multi-million-dollar machine. You've got liquid cooling, 1 trillion operations a second, terabytes of data, the absolute best hardware money can buy.
A total powerhouse.
Right. But it has no internet connection. There's no Wi-Fi card, no Ethernet port, no Bluetooth. It fundamentally cannot interface with the network of other computers around it.
That's a brilliant way to visualize it.
So despite all that immense humming power inside the box, what can it actually do for the outside world?
Well, nothing.
Nothing. You can't send it an email. You can't ask it a question. You can't share its processing power. It's just a really loud, really expensive space heater.
That is so true.
And what I'm hearing is that Valluvar doesn't view the lack of a network connection as just a minor quirk. He views it as a fatal system failure.
A total system failure. And that brings us back to why this verse is placed in the chapter on decorum. In the modern world, we tend to trivialize decorum.
Yeah, we think of it as knowing which fork to use at a fancy dinner.
Right, or remembering to say please and thank you. But in this philosophical context, decorum is the underlying physics of human collaboration. It's the grease in the gears of society.
It's what keeps the machine running.
Exactly. It's the shared understanding and empathy that allows different human beings to coexist, build things, and survive together. If your raw intelligence causes friction everywhere you go, if you alienate people and disrupt that fundamental human network, then your intelligence isn't just useless, it's a destructive force.
It's actively breaking the machine rather than helping it run, which is a massive ego check for anyone who prides themselves purely on how much they know.
Oh, a huge ego check.
Because society usually rewards the hoarding of information. We literally hand people trophies for knowing the most things.
We do.
But Valluvar is standing at the bottom of the ivory tower, looking up at the scholar who's looking down on everyday people. And he's saying, you actually know nothing of value.
Because the primary purpose of learning shouldn't be to isolate yourself. It should be to figure out how to exist alongside others. Kural 140 is the diagnosis of the disease.
It tells us the exact pitfall to avoid.
Right. But a philosopher doesn't just leave you with a diagnosis and walk away. If hoarding data and alienating people equals zero, he has to provide an off-ramp. What is the actual mechanism for becoming wise?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that takes us to the second half of this equation. The flip side of the coin.
Yeah.
The text guides us to a mirror image verse, Kural 4:26. And the framing here shifts entirely. We leave the chapter on decorum, and this verse is found in the chapter Ozhukkamudaimai, which translates directly to wisdom.
Okay.
The English translation to Kural 4:26 is, to live as the world lives, in harmony with the world, that is true wisdom.
Think about the transition he just made. In the first verse, he was focused entirely on the flawed person, the arrogant scholar, and what they were doing wrong.
Right, the negative example.
Now he pivots to define the nature of true knowledge itself. It's a positive, proactive guide.
What stands out to me here is how this redefines intelligence from something static into something completely fluid.
How so?
Well, we are so conditioned to think of intelligence as a static number. You take an IQ test when you're 12, or you get your SAT score, and that number becomes your static identity forever. You just are an intellect.
Oh, right, it's a label.
Yeah. But Valluvar is describing intelligence not as a rigid state of being, but as a fluid capability. It's adaptable. It's the continuous active choice to tune your life to the frequency of the people around you.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, let's unpack the mechanics of that fluid capability. Think about what it actually requires for a person to tune their life to the frequency of the world.
It's not easy.
It demands an incredibly high level of active listening. It demands rigorous observation. And most importantly, it demands empathy.
Yeah, that's the key word right there.
You have to be willing to temporarily step outside of your own ego, put down your own preconceived data, and genuinely observe the rhythms, the struggles, and the baseline reality of the people in front of you.
It's the difference between knowing the theoretical physics of how a bicycle stays upright and actually riding a bicycle through a crowded street market.
Oh, explain that a bit more.
Well, the disconnected scholar from Kural 140 can write a perfectly cited paper on gyroscopic motion, center of mass, and the mechanics of pedaling.
Right, they have the static data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you put them on a bike in the middle of a busy city square, they crash into a fruit stand.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't possess the fluid, applied wisdom to navigate the environment. Riding the bike safely requires you to constantly adjust your balance, hit the brakes when someone steps out in front of you, speed up to catch a light, and read the body language of the pedestrians.
You have to be in harmony with the chaos of the street.
That's it. You have to react to the world.
That perfectly encapsulates it. The educated person knows the theoretical rules of the street. The wise person possesses the situational awareness to navigate that street gracefully alongside everyone else without causing a pileup.
Right.
True wisdom, in Valluvar's framework, is that ongoing active choice to remain adaptable. It is the proof that knowledge only reaches its full potential when it is practically applied to human connection.
So what does this all mean? When we lay these two verses side by side, they form a complete cohesive map.
They really do.
Kural 140 shows us the trap, the dead-end road of social arrogance and disconnected learning. And Kural 426 shows us the destination, the empathetic, fluid application of knowledge.
Together, they argue that intelligence isn't about how much you can store in your brain. It's about mastering social harmony. Don't just learn to elevate yourself away from people. Learn so you can better live among them.
It's a profound synthesis. It moves the goalpost of education from personal elevation to communal integration.
Absolutely.
I see the beauty in that. I really do. But I need to play devil's advocate here for a second, because the specific phrasing of Kural 426 sets off a massive alarm bell for me.
Oh, which part?
The instruction to live as the world lives. Does Valluvar essentially mean we should just blindly conform to the crowd? Because history is packed with examples where the world was doing something horrific. The crowd can be unjust, it can be violent, it can be completely wrong.
That's very true.
If society is broken, is Valluvar actually saying that true wisdom is just conforming to that brokenness just to keep the peace and not rock the boat? Because if so, that doesn't sound like wisdom to me. That sounds like cowardice.
This raises an important question, and it's the ultimate tension in this philosophy. It's exactly the right question to ask. But to understand his answer, we have to look closely at the mechanics of what harmony actually is. We hear harmony, and we often confuse it with unison.
Okay, what's the difference in this context?
Think about it musically. If a choir sings in unison, every single voice is singing the exact same note at the exact same pitch. That is conformity. That is living as the world lives in the blind robotic sense you're worried about. If society is singing a wrong or unjust note, unison demands you sing that wrong note too.
Exactly, which is bad.
But harmony is fundamentally different. Harmony is when different voices or different instruments play entirely different notes that relate to each other constructively.
Okay, so it's about the relationship between the notes, not mimicking the same note.
Exactly. Let's look at the mechanism of dissonance. If you are a brilliant scholar, let's call you a C sharp, and you walk into a room where society is playing a flawed C major chord.
Okay, keeping with the music analogy.
The arrogant scholar from Kural 140 just plays their C sharp as loudly and aggressively as possible. They yell at everyone in the room for being wrong. They create massive dissonance.
Yeah, that friction again.
They are technically playing a correct note based on their own isolated sheet music, but because they have no harmony with the room, nobody listens. They just cover their ears. The room rejects the scholar, and nothing changes.
Because friction destroys the message. So what does the wise person from Kural 426 do? Do they abandon their C sharp and just play the flawed C major to fit in?
No, they don't abandon their truth, but they use their emotional intelligence to modulate. They possess the fluid capability to understand why the room is playing in C major. They read the room.
Right.
They speak the language of the people they are trying to reach. And then they figure out how to construct a new chord, maybe a relative minor or a transition chord, that introduces their knowledge in a way the room can actually hear and accept. They use their education to build a bridge rather than building a wall of resentment.
That is a massive distinction.
Yeah.
You aren't surrendering your individuality or your morals to the mob. You are developing the emotional intelligence to actually reach the mob in the first place.
You cannot change a system if you refuse to interface with it. The arrogant scholar locks themselves in their tower and screams that the world is broken, but they remain useless.
Yeah.
The wise person wades into the messy, imperfect reality of human society, establishes a harmonious connection, and uses that connection to gently guide society toward a better path.
You have to be in the world to change the world.
Precisely. And that requires exactly the kind of fluid, adaptable, empathetic tuning that Valluvar defines as true wisdom.
Yeah.
It is far more difficult than just memorizing facts.
It's a tremendous challenge. Because frankly, it is so much easier and so much safer to just stay in your room and read another book than it is to go out into the world and patiently try to understand another human being,
Oh, absolutely.
especially one you disagree with. It takes incredible vulnerability to try and find harmony with people.
It really does.
Which brings us right back to you, the listener, because philosophy is only useful if we apply it. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to take a moment and audit your own approach to learning. Look at your career, your personal growth, the articles you read, the deep dives you listen to. Why are you gathering this knowledge?
It's a good self-reflection.
Are you acting like that high-powered supercomputer with no internet connection?
Mm-hmm.
Are you hoarding facts simply to win arguments online, to sound like the smartest person in a meeting, or to elevate yourself above the people around you?
Or are you treating your intelligence as a fluid capability?
Exactly. Are you using what you learn as a tool to connect? The ultimate test of your education isn't the data you retain. It's whether you are using that data to bridge gaps, build empathy, and create harmony in your own specific corners of the world.
That is the ultimate diagnostic test for all of us. And as you go about your day reflecting on how you apply your own knowledge, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
It builds directly on that tension we just explored. If true wisdom requires us to actively adapt and find harmony with the world, well, how does a truly wise person act when the society around them isn't just flawed, but is fundamentally structurally unjust?
Oh, wow.
How do you maintain that vital empathetic connection with your fellow humans while simultaneously fighting to dismantle the very system they are living in?
Now, that is the real puzzle to solve. Keep tuning your frequency, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.